Our school, Michael Nagar Shikhaniketan, government sponsored co-ed English medium higher secondary, has taken an excellent initiative in conducting online classes through YouTube channel. Even in this pandemic situation, our school did not step aback in providing and enhancing knowledge to the students. So it's a request to the viewers, please like, comment and subscribe.
Class 12, Subject Political Science, Unit 5, Major Doctrines of the Contemporary World, Liberalism, Marxism. So, today we are going to study the two major doctrines of the contemporary world. One is Marxism and the other is liberalism. First, we will start with what is the definition of liberalism and what is the origin of liberalism. So, what is liberalism? Liberalism is fairly an old political ideology. Its roots can be traced to the days of the 16th century. So, therefore, liberalism first emerged in Greece through the two main principles of freedom of thought and freedom in political sphere. So, liberalism is a dominant ideology of the present day Western world. The history of England, Western Europe, America for the last 300 years has been associated with the evolution of liberal thought. In England, which is one of the most highly industrialized country in the world, liberalism has attained the twin status of national philosophy as well as national policy. So, liberalism emerged at the time of Renaissance and Reformation. What is Reformation? Reformation broke the authority of church in Europe. And then what happened after Reformation? The new nation states emerged. The feudal system completely shattered. There was scientific and technological advances. At that point of time only, a new economic class called the capitalist class emerged and a new philosophy known as liberalism also emerged. So, the main aim, what is the main aim of liberalism? Therefore, the main aim of liberalism is freedom from every kind of authority that acts arbitrarily and also freedom of individual to develop his own potential, because an individual knows what is best for him, an individual knows what is good for him. Liberalism also stands for free liberty in all spheres of life. Therefore, liberalism strongly believes that the government which governs the least is the best form of government. Then we will go to what are the thoughts associated with liberalism. Liberalism is mainly associated with progressive thoughts. Liberalism believes in breaking down social hierarchies. Liberalism is against the feudal system. What is the feudal system? In the feudal system, the individual rights, liberty, equality were totally absent. In the medieval era or in the feudal system was based on privileges of few, and the voice of church was considered to be the voice of God, and the Pope was considered to be the representative of God on earth. So, liberalism is mainly a struggle against this privileged authority. That is the feudal and the medievalistic society. Therefore, liberalism is not only a doctrine, it is a philosophy, it is a way of life, it is an ideal. So, therefore, we will define liberalism in broad terms, that is, what is the definition of liberalism? Liberalism is a tendency towards extending individual rights and liberties as against rigid political, economic or bureaucratic authority. Next, we will very conveniently come to the implications of liberalism. So, what are the implications of liberalism? In the social context, in the economic sphere and in the political sphere. in the social context. First we will go to the social context. Social context, liberalism stands for secularism. Liberalism is against any kind of religious fundamentalism, and it gives an individual the right to propagate, preach and practice the religion of his or her choice, and the state cannot interfere in the religious preferences of an individual. Next we come to the economic sphere of liberalism, which is another implication of liberalism. What is in the economic sphere? It promotes free trade, then free competition, private ownership of means of production, as well as it promotes the right to private property. Third, we come to the political sphere, which is the last implication of liberalism. What is it? It means freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, as well as liberalism also preaches for protecting the rights of the minorities. Next we will come to the various aspects of liberalism. There are mainly many aspects of liberalism, but we will highlight only a few. First we will come to civil liberty. What is civil liberty? In feudal society was mainly based on serving the interest of the dominant class. But civil liberalism stands for assuring civil liberty for all. Next we come to fiscal liberty. Fiscal liberty means if there is no tax, there is no representation. Next we come to personal liberty. What is personal liberty? Personal liberty means it is the freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, as well as an individual has the power to voice his opinions, to articulate his views, as well as to exercise his voting rights. Next we come to social liberty. In the social context, liberalism promotes social equality for all, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, social or economic background. Next we come to economic liberty. What is economic liberty? That is a right to have private ownership over the means of production, as well as free trade and free competition. Then is domestic liberty. What is domestic liberty? Domestic liberty mainly vouches for freedom of men and women in terms of marriage, children, education, etc. Then we come to international liberty. So this is a very interesting concept. International liberty mainly stands for promoting international peace and security and promoting international cooperation among the various nations of the world. Last but not the least, we come to the concept of popular sovereignty. What is popular sovereignty? The concept of popular sovereignty means that the decision making power lies with the people. That is, the people have the power to elect and choose their own representatives. That is, the government gets its power from the people. Suppose in India we live in a democratic society, so same only that it means supreme power. The power lies with the people. The decision making power always is with the people. Now after this we will discuss the various features of liberalism. Over here I have highlighted the main features of liberalism, that is individualism, anti-authoritarianism, development of individual liberty, political equality, liberal democracy, humanism, pluralistic society and elements of welfare. First we will come to individualism. What is individualism? Individualism is the chief characteristics of liberalism. So because like Hobbes in his book Leviathan has clearly indicated that the world is made up of individuals, the society is made up of individuals, and the state is only existing to serve man's needs. Now we will talk about Bentham. Bentham also believes that an individual comes before the state, and state is an artificial institution devised by man only to satisfy his own needs as well as his own desires, and it reflects his own will. State is not an end. According to the liberalism, state is not an end, it is a means, and state is an artificial institution which is created by man, devised by man to fulfill his own desires. Next, we will come to anti-authoritarianism. Liberalism is against any type of arbitrary authority. It believes that any type of authority will restrict individual freedom, will restrict individual liberty. Therefore, there is a conflict everywhere. If an higher authority is restricting individual liberty, there will be a conflict. So, liberalism is also resolving this conflict or dispute by placing individual freedom much before any authority. Next, we will come to development of individual liberty yes. So, liberalism believes in the development of individual liberty because a human being knows what is best for him. A human being knows what is good for him. And human being is endowed with reason. It believes in the complete rationality and goodness of an individual, and an individual also knows how to shape his destiny. An individual knows how to shape his future. Next, we will come to political equality. So, what is political equality? Political equality means that a person that is like freedom in like to vote, like freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, as well as a person is capable of exercising its voting rights and voicing his opinion. Next, we will come to liberal democracy. Liberalism always vouches for a liberal democracy. What is? Because people get their power from the government. The decision making power lies with the people, and liberalism also believes in the existence of a multi-party system, and it also believes in the peaceful change of government. Next is humanism. Liberalism promotes the ideal of humanity as well as humanism. It is one of the chief characteristics of liberalism that it promotes humanity as well as it promotes humanism. What is humanism? Like liberalism believes in a society where men will be treated as equals, where men will have the right to voice his own opinions without any arbitrary authority imposing any kind of restrictions on him. Therefore, liberalism believes in a masterless society, in the masterless individual. It believes in the rationality and goodness of the individual. It believes that an individual knows what is best for him. Next, we will come to pluralistic society. If we look around, we live in a pluralistic diverse society. What is a pluralistic diverse society? Pluralistic diverse society means the people from various castes, creed, religion, community, everyone is coming together. So, since so many people are coming together, they will have different kind of multi-dimensional views, as well as there will be a lot of multifunctional groups. So, therefore, the society will have to listen to the views of the governed, that is the people. Liberalism also believes in the creativity of individuals and diversification of human interests. Next, we come to the last feature of liberalism, that is element of welfare. What is element of welfare? Liberalism always stands for establishing a welfare state. Liberalism is against any kind of totalitarian authority. What is a totalitarian authority? Which imposes fear or creates fear in the minds of the people to rule. Now, we will come to the conclusion by saying that liberalism is a theory of democracy. Why it is a theory of democracy? Because it is based on, it is in favor of a government based on consent of the people. It is in favor of a constitutional government. Liberalism opposes all kinds of social discrimination, like any kind of own out traditions, any kind of superstitions, any kind of prejudices, any kind of false beliefs. Liberalism is also a theory of reforms. What kind of reforms? Reforms in social, political, economic sphere. So, we will also find certain ideas of liberalism in the American Bill of Independence or American Declaration of Independence, the British and American Bill of Rights, as well as we will find certain defenders of liberalism. Who are those defenders of liberalism? James Mill, then John Stuart Mill, then we will find Locke, we will find Milton, we will find Voltaire, we will find J.S. Mill, we will find T.H. Green. They have also laid the foundation of liberalism. Next, we will come to Marxism. What is Marxism? So, the teachings Marxism. The teachings of Karl Marx as well as Friedrich Engels is known as Marxism. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels are the two most important advocates of Marxism, and Lenin has also made a valuable contribution to the philosophy of Marxism. So, Karl Marx. Who was Karl Marx? Karl Marx was mainly born in Germany. Karl Marx was a person who was mainly born in Germany, and in the Berlin University he got attracted to the young Hegelian movement. The young Hegelian movement was not only critical of the Prussian government but also of Christianity. Marx wrote his first major work, Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts, popularly known as EPM, written in 1844, and it got published in 1932. The central concern of this work was alienation. Marx got involved in a serious study of history, which led him to propound his famous theory of historical materialism or materialistic interpretation of history. This theory is contained in the first joint work of Marx and Engels, titled The German Ideology. Marx joined the Communist League, and then he was assigned the task of writing a communist manifesto. Marxism is a general theory regarding this world and human society. Engels said, Marx discovered the principle of history of mankind. Now next we will come to the sources of Marxism. First we will see from the historical events. So mainly historical event means with the advent of Industrial Revolution, there was the birth of many modern wage earners, and therefore these labor movements are only the sources of like Marxism. Next, from the British political economy, next source of Marxism is British political economy, utopian socialism and German idealism. So, taking a hint from Smith and Ricardo, Marx in his book Das Kapital talks about the role of social labor in determining price. Therefore, the most important theory of Marxism, that is the theory of surplus value, emerges. Next, we will come to another source of Marxism, that is the ideas of utopian socialists like Saint-Simon, Robert Owen, and at last, this Marxism also comes from German idealists like Kant and Hegel. Now, we will come to the most important tenets of Marxism. It is dialectical materialism, historical materialism, theory of class struggle, theory of state, as well as theory of revolution. First, so what is dialectical materialism? Marx and Engels are the chief advocates of dialectical materialism. Dialectical materialism studies social change. It gives an explanation of social change in a scientific manner. Dialectic materialism believes that social change occurs as a result of dialectical process obtained in the material world, and a society does not change suddenly. That is, it changes because there is a change in the material conditions of society. And dialectical materialism also emphasizes on why and how an old system changes to a new qualitative one. Next, we will come to historical materialism. So, what is historical materialism? The application of the principles of dialectical materialism is called historical materialism or materialistic interpretation of history. According to Marx, history is created by man and social change does not occur suddenly because a command has been given by a divine power or Almighty God. Like social change occurs in society or developments in human history occurs due to changes in the material conditions of life. Suppose we will take the example of primitive communism. The change from primitive communism, then comes slave society, then comes feudal society, and after feudal society we will talk about the capitalism and socialism. So all these changes, all these developments in human history are occurring due to the changes in the material conditions of society as well as in the lives of the individuals. Next we will come to, therefore, man himself builds a social environment for himself. Man builds a social environment for himself, and what does he do? He transforms that particular environment. He modifies that particular environment according to his own needs. In historical materialism, we will also discuss about the various modes of production. What are the modes of production? First we will talk about the forces of production. The forces of production means land, labor, capital and factories, machine. These are the things which are required to produce goods in the society. Next we will come to the relations of production. What are the relations of production? Relations of production means, for example, the relationship between a master and a slave. Now when a man is producing material goods in the society, he is making certain relations. That is, a worker is coming in contact with his master, a slave is coming in contact with his master, but unfortunately the relationship is hostile and contradictory because the master is exploiting his slave, the dominant class is exploiting the working class. Therefore, what happens? It leads to a sudden revolution in the society. What kind of revolution? A sudden revolution in the society due to which the old relations of production gets replaced by a new one. Means in historical materialism, there is an inevitable conflict between the forces of production, that is land, labor, capital, factories, machine. These are the things which are required to produce, as well as the relations of production, that is when a worker is coming in contact with his master and is unfortunately being dominated and exploited by his master. Next we will come to the theory of class and caste struggle. So theory of class and class struggle. So this is a very important feature of Marxism, class. Class war is inevitable in a society where the working class is being dominated by the capitalist class. It is inevitable in a society where the dominant class, which are the owners of the means of production, is exploiting the oppressed class. So what happens? We have seen theory of class struggle, class war, not only in primitive communism, but we will also see this in feudal society, but it is more acute and it has become a problematic phenomena in our modern society, because on one hand there is the working class and on the other hand there is the capitalist class. Therefore, but one day the dominant class will wither away, the dominant class will lose all its power, and the working class will take the state power away from the hands of the capitalist. Next we will come to theory of the state. So, theory of the state. Marxist theory of the state is a very important or very concept. What happens in the theory of the state? First is the dominant class. In the theory of the state, there are two classes. One is the dominant class. Who is the dominant class? Dominant class means the class which is owning the means of production. The dominant class are the owners of the means of production, like capital, land, factory, and there is the oppressed class, means the class which is being exploited, who have nothing but only their labor power to survive. So the dominant class is exploiting the working class. Therefore, the dominant class, in order to prevent any kind of attack by the working class, is employing the state machinery. The dominant class is using state power to shield itself. The dominant class is using the police force, the military in the state to shield itself, to protect itself from the attack by the working class. So therefore, according to Marx, state is an instrument of exploitation in the hands of the capitalist class, and state is just a puppet in the hands of the capitalist class. But one day the dominant class will be defeated and the working class will take the state power from the hands of the capitalist, and this will be an end to capitalism and will establish a new social system known as socialism. Next we will come to theory of revolution. Theory of revolution. So, revolution is inevitable in a society where the working class or the dominant class is continuously being exploited, as well as the theory or the oppressed class is continuously being dominated because the owners of means of production are exploiting them. Therefore, this needs to end. Therefore, this will put an end to capitalism and build a new social system called socialism. I will mention another concept, which is the surplus value. Theory of surplus value. Theory of surplus value. What is the theory of surplus value? Surplus value in simple terms means profit. Now, the dominant class, which are the owners of the means of production, is continuously exploiting the working class. Now, the workers are producing social commodities for the society, but the capitalists are selling those commodities at a price which is higher than that, and the laborers are not getting paid properly. Therefore, the laborer or the worker is not getting paid for the large part of his labor or for his entire labor. Therefore, he is being exploited. Now, therefore the dominant class is always exploiting the working class. Now what will happen? One day the dominant class will wither away and the state power will go to the hands of the working class, and this will put an end to, and there will be put an end to capitalism. There will be dictatorship of the proletariat, that is the dictatorship of the working class, which will lead to socialism. Now what is socialism? Socialism means an individual will work according to his capacity and get paid according to work, and finally the establishment of socialism will lead to communism, which means everyone will work according to their capacity and get paid according to their need. Thus, I can conclude by saying that there are various criticisms of Marxism, and Marxism has been subjected to criticism worldwide, but it still remains a relevant concept in world politics. Thank you.
Subscribe. Click on the bell. Like, comment, share.